Welcome to Lazy Reviews. Today I'm going to talk about actual movie history. A real damn classic that was such a trendsetter, such a marvelous masterpiece that was so successful that it not only launched the career of one of the most productive and successful directors in modern cinema, but also a film that was so revolutionary in its own way, so groundbreaking, so intriguing, so fantastic, that it created more than a decade of mockbusters of film trying to mimic the success of this one, stealing everything they could, and a film that is still talked about to this day, that is still referenced, that is still borrowed from, that is still used in sketches. It's so damn iconic. Well, also, I'll be talking about the 3 movies that came after the first installment. Have you seen my other videos about animal horror franchises? You might have thought, hey, something is missing. Why hasn't he talked about this film yet? Why did he make a video about Crocodile Dundee before making a video about this franchise, this enormously important franchise? Well, a very important film and then a sucky franchise, to be honest. But, well, actually, in Crocodile Dundee, there's actually a little hint that I would be talking about this.
Because the real danger down there is the sharks, though. The big ones, like Jaws.
Because yes, today I'll be talking about Jaws. You can see it in the title. I don't know why I'm trying to hide it. It's a very long introduction, but it's because I'm excited. Kinda. Because Jaws is amazing. Jaws is not the first film by Steven Spielberg. His first film was Duel, which is an often overlooked thriller that's actually quite good. I do like it. Jaws is miles ahead of it, to be honest, but you can actually see a lot of the things in Jaws. What he experimented with in Duel actually can be translated into Jaws, just, Jaws being much more exciting. And it's also a different premise, but you can see some of the same trends. Anyway, we should not talk about Duel, we should talk about Jaws. Jaws came out in 1975, and I will warn you there will be spoilers in this video for all the movies. I will not be doing a non-spoiler review of Jaws, because it's one of those movies you should just kind of expect. There will be things I will not spoil, so it's gonna be light spoiler. There are some important things that I don't find necessary to spoil, so you will still be able to enjoy the film if you haven't seen it yet. I don't know why you haven't, but, this is a film you should go and watch. You can go and watch it without listening to this review first, or you can do it after. I don't know, just watch it. It's a masterpiece. It's a damn masterpiece. So the film takes place in this resort on this small island called Amity, somewhere in New England. It's undetermined, but yeah. It's in New England. The film starts out with hippies having fun on the beach, and then they go out skinny dipping in the middle of the night, and one of them is eaten. That's how the film begins. Very classy opening, very great opening. 10 out of 10, that's a great opening. The film then cuts to our main protagonist, Martin Brody, who is the newly hired police commissioner, or police chief, who is brought in fresh from New York. He is looking forward to, having the last, he's not that old, but just settling into a small, peaceful, quiet community where he will not have to deal with all the shit he has had to deal with in New York City. This is New York in the 70s. That's not a nice place. Okay, it depends on where you live, but New York City in the 70s was wild. He's then brought in after the remains of this skinny dipper is found. It's determined that this is a shark attack, so He's basically just trying to find out what's going on. Honestly, the problem is this film has a great cast, and this guy is the weakest of them. He is not exactly a wet blanket. He's mostly a bit stoic, boring. There are some scenes where his character and where his acting does shine through. It is a bit sad that this is the guy we have as our main protagonist, in my opinion. I think actually that might be the main weak point of this film, if it does have a weak point. You can, of course, disagree with this. Maybe he's the perfect protagonist because he's a bit of, a dull person. Anyway, he has this family in this small community. He is trying to settle in. They are trying to find out what's going on with his shark attack. And Brody actually is quick to jump into action. He does close down the beach, fearing another attack. He does understand the sincerity of this incident. The problem is that the local mayor is just way too worried about the city's economy, the town's economy. Well, a lot of the residents are too, because this is a tourist destination. This is a resort town. Their entire economy is tourist-based. So if they close down the beaches, they're gonna have a bad time. So they reopen the beaches. Then there's another attack, and yeah, things are going downhill. The town gets more worried. This professor, scientist guy is hired from the outside, shark expert, played by Dreyfus. He's a really good actor in this film. He's really great at it. I love his character. We also introduced to the other film's character, this old fisherman, this wild, wise guy who is salty from the sea thing. There's an expression there, but I forgot how it goes. But yeah, you've probably seen this scene referenced in somewhere if you haven't seen it here, but he's introduced by scratching this whiteboard with his nails and telling them about how dangerous this shark is, how large it is, and how he can handle it, but for a large sum of money. And of course, the townsfolk are too stingy to pay him and instead put out a ransom on this shark, and all these local fishermen, all these buffoons really not knowing what to get into, are just going out to track down this shark. They're going out in these I don't know why they're going out. Like when they head out, there are 10 boats maybe. They all head out in this small cluster. They're not really spreading out to find it, which I don't really understand. Anyway, they are just all naive. This is hubris. They have no idea what they're dealing with. They are cracking jokes about how good they are and how this shark won't stand a chance. And truth be told, they do find a shark. It's not really a great white. It's a tiger shark. And this is enough to convince the mayor that they can reopen the beaches. And of course, he shouldn't have done that. There's another major shark attack. This is a thriller, but I would say it has a few outright horror moments. And there is one, I'm not gonna spoil it here, but there is one very effective, very famous jump scare in it. And this is where the film goes into the second act. We are almost halfway through this 2-hour movie, and this is where it gets really good. The last hour of this movie turns into this sort of chamber piece with these 3 guys on the boat. The rugged fisherman. He has seen things, he has experienced things. He might be a bit rugged, a bit simple in their opinion, weathered by his experiences, but he is incredibly capable and also quite charming. Then we have, of course, Dreyfus, the scientist, who is actually also quite charming. He's quite lively, he is funny. He seems to enjoy his life on the boat, he seems to enjoy what he's doing. He's also a bit full of himself, quite condescending often. Also likes a bit of irony and sarcasm, but he's honestly just very likable. And then we of course have Brody. He just generally really doesn't like any of these people, it seems. He just really hates everything he's doing, but overall he doesn't show many emotions. There are a few scenes where he does crack up a bit and does start laughing, but overall he's just this guy who is not really in his element. There are some really good scenes with him. There is one good dinner scene earlier in the film where Dreyfus drops by. One scene where Dreyfus and the rugged sailor man, they are comparing their scars, competing their manhood in terms of how their life experiences have left permanent marks on them. And they're a bit drunk in the scene, but it's quite good. And that scene leads into also another fantastic scene, which is when it suddenly gets really somber and serious as it's revealed that Sailor Man was on the USS Indianapolis, a ship that was sunk during the Pacific War and is, from my understanding, the largest recorded shark attack in history.
By the end of that first dawn, lost 100 men. I don't know how many sharks, maybe 1,000. I don't know how many men, they average 6 an hour.
It's a bit unknown how many died. The film makes it out to be that a lot of them died, were killed by sharks. There's no real consensus on how many died, but it's between a few dozen and maybe 150 people were killed by sharks. What's so good about the scene is not just how it's told, it's Dreyfus knows about this attack. So the second he hears about it, he just freezes. He is shocked to the core, but Brody doesn't know what it is. So he is there to hear the story, he is the member of the audience who has never heard about this incident. It's such a good scene. The film, of course, also has the we need a bigger boat scene that is also absolutely spectacular.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
And yeah, it's just really good. The final showdown of the film, and honestly what works a lot with this film is it uses essentially jump scares very effectively. They are the hunter, but they're also the hunted. At one point, they managed to hit the shark with this harpoon thing that makes these air-filled barrels stick out of the water, meaning they can track it. They can actually see where it is just by seeing the path of the barrels above the water. Balloons, whatever you would call them in this sense. And that just makes it very effective that actually you can see the shark even when you can't see the shark. But they also play a bit with it. It's just very nice. And then the final showdown is really good. I will spoil a bit here because it does become relevant for the other movies. It does end up with the shark exploding. They shoot this canister that's in its mouth and it just makes the head absolutely explode. It's cool. You see just this shark fall to the bottom of the sea with this exposed what looks like a spine. It's nice, and then it ends. It's a really good film, really lovely. I would say perfectly rounded film. There's really no reason why you would need more than this, but of course, this film, until the release of Star Wars 2 years later, this was the highest grossing film in American history. Of course, meaning that there would be a sequel. Because that's a lot of money. Of course, they need to make more money. That's how this works. So there's a sequel. It came out in 78. Let's talk about that sequel. 1978, 3 years after the first movie. Jaws 2 came out. Chronologically, I'm not sure how much time has passed. One of the main characters in this film is Michael Brody, one of the sons of Martin Brody. He has 2 sons. He is briefly in the first film. He's not really in many scenes, but in that film, he looks approximately 10, 11 years old. And given he's 16 in this one, let's assume it's 5 years later. This film opens up, so the boat they are on in the first film, it does sink at the end of the film. That boat is called Orca. That sinks to the bottom, and the sequel opens up with 2 scuba divers discovering this wreck and taking photos of it. And while taking photos of it, they are attacked by a shark, are eaten alive, and as they die, they take a photo of the shark attack. This camera is then recovered one of the following days, and there is another victim of this shark attack. That this time there are some witnesses to it. This lady, while on her boat, she is attacked by the shark and tries to... I actually don't know what her big plan is. It's attacking her boat and is engulfed in some gasoline, and she then uses her flare gun to set it ablaze, in the process burning herself alive. I'm not sure if it was just an act of defiance that she was going down fighting, or if she actually thought she could escape the situation. That's actually quite a cool scene. The beginning of this movie is not that bad, actually. I also really like how Martin Brody's character has developed, in that he's so traumatized by the events of the first film. This one opens with, there's a new hotel opening on this beach, so there's a big event, so there's even more corporate interest in this one, even more interest in keeping the beach open. They have had this new shark tower installed, so they have even more prepared should there come another shark attack. Again, it is taking place in New England. They do establish in the first film that sharks are very rare here. I should also stress that the first film, it's filmed in the same place as the first film, which is in the Massachusetts. And it was shot in May, so if you see, you also think it doesn't look as warm as it should be for a summer resort. You're absolutely right. It was probably a bit chilly when they filmed it, and that's also why, they did start filming at the same place here, but then they moved to Florida because it was much warmer. Brody, the second he realizes there is probably another shark attack, this time he's like, the second he sees a sign of it, that's definitely a shark here. So there's a really good scene where it's just this traumatized guy making dumb bullets for his revolver. He's trying to, from the very early on, he's keeping it a bit low, not to cause a panic, which is not ideal because not only is his younger son around water a lot of the movie, but his older son, the teenagers. This movie really turns into a teenage love drama, and that's really the very bad aspect of the film, and a lot of it is just this older son obeying his father a bit too much, not really having a teenage rebellion, but then love interest shows up and he starts having a teenage rebellion, and it's all about going out on boats drinking because that's what people do, I guess. So the first half of this is, there's a shark attack. They have to convince the authorities, of course, the mayor. He's also back again, the mayor. He has to convince the mayor that there's another attack, and of course the mayor is still reluctant. Like, it happened the first time, it wouldn't happen again. And Brody, before really starting to really panic about this, has a situation where he thinks he sees a shark in the water from this big lookout tower and just tells everyone to get out of the water, and as they don't obey him, he runs around this beach, slinging his gun around and just shoots off a whole magazine of his revolver. That's not a magazine, a whole cylinder? What do you call it? A whole round. No, that's not a round. All the rounds in his revolver. He just shoots it at this, and it turns out that, it's actually just a flock of bluefish. So this already damages his credibility, and then he interrupts a meeting with the mayor, showing this photograph of this shark attack. And yes, it's a bad photograph, so of course they don't believe that's another shark attack. So this first half of the film is convincing there needs to be something done about this. It's another 2-hour movie, by the way, sadly. And then it goes from that into what's probably the last 45 minutes. And actually watching this film, I realized that Piranha 2, a video I did cover on this channel, by the way, is actually not so much mimicking Jaws. That is really referencing Jaws 2. There are a lot of scenes that are directly stolen from Jaws 2 in that film, or at least heavily inspired. The last 40-45 minutes or even more are just how these teenagers, really annoying teenagers, are trapped on these boats in the midst of a shark attack. And this is also where the film gets really dumb. But also, there's some cool, like, they're trying to rescue the kids with a helicopter, but then the shark just attacks the helicopter and pulls it down underwater. Dumb and fun at the same time. But where it really gets annoying and why I actually ended up really disliking this movie is there's so much screaming in it. There's especially this one actress who's screaming at the top of her lungs. In so many scenes, she's so hysterical. There are other people screaming in it as well, children, whatever, but she is so annoying that she ruined the last part of the film. It wouldn't have been a good film without her, but she made it absolutely impossible to sit through. It was a painful experience, and she screams all the time. Sometimes other people are chiming in with their screams, and I just wanted her to die so bad, so I would be rid of her screaming. But no, of course it doesn't. Of course you hear these screams. And also, this shark is shown to be able to destroy boats. But of course, all these teenagers, all the boats are destroyed. Some of them like to gather some of the boats together to create this kind of island of boats. That's how I understood it. Maybe that's not the case. I was zoning out so much because of the screaming at this point that I missed some things, I guess. And suddenly the shark can't attack the boat, but it can attack everything around it. So another boat shows up, it attacks that boat. The helicopter shows up, it attacks that helicopter. But this boat with all this food on it, no, it doesn't attack that because that would be too inconvenient for the plot, wouldn't it? If it just killed the people. Fuck this movie, seriously, fuck this movie, it's so bad. And it just had this really climax of then Brody has to save them. His son is among them. I think even his younger son is among them as well. At least there's a kid with them. They're trying to get to this rock formation more than an island. I don't know why they're struggling getting to it. Also, why isn't the shark killing them? And then suddenly they manage to electrocute the shark by making a trap for it so it bites into an electrical cable. And honestly, it slightly redeems itself with that because it's ludicrous, and it kind of looks bad, but I enjoyed the way it looked bad. It looks goofy, but you see the skull, you see the head of the shark in flames. It's good stuff. But yeah, no, I honestly absolutely hate this film. I think because of the qualities of the earlier parts of the film, I can't give it an abysmal score, but it was so painful in the last hour of the film. It was truly painful to sit through. I actually disliked this movie much, much, much more than I thought I would. And I think a big reason is the screaming and then how awful the plot is. But what about the third one? Is that better, at least? Can it be better? Yeah, I hope it's better. So we had to wait 5 years for the next installment, Jaws 3D. 1983. I should address the elephant in the room. This movie is god-awfully ugly. And that's because it came out in the 3D craze of the early 80s. And as such, when you watch it on your home screen today, it just looks odd. So many things look superimposed. The first time this really strikes out is that there is this small submarine. I will go into details more with some of the more graphically problematic scenes later in the film when I get to them. But I'll just say that actually the main issue of this movie is it's really not pleasant to look at today. The premise of it is actually quite decent. You always have to go bigger in the sequel. At least that's the theory. The only way you can try and surpass the splendor of the original is expanding the scope, going bigger if you can. But usually the sequels have a smaller budget, so going bigger usually is not possible. Or if it is possible, it usually is a really, really badly. This film takes place in this water park. They say it's the world's biggest water park. It's built in a man-made lagoon with access. There's a small path leading to the sea that they can shut off with using this gate system that they built into it. So it is connected to the sea, but they can also control access to the sea from it. The only recurring character in this film is Michael Brody, the son of Martin Brody. Of course, he's not played by the same character anymore, but he is a recurring character. He now works at this park. He has this phobia for the ocean. Our other characters include young, good-looking professor lady who has a very good special bond with the dolphins there. Yeah, I guess the real horror, the real threat of this is that they're trapping these orcas and dolphins in these ocean parks. That is something I guess also needs to be addressed, that animal rights activists have done a lot of splendid work at portraying how these animals are actually not thriving in these parks, even though it looks like they might be on the surface. So I'm not going to go too political about this. So yeah, it takes place in this water park. We have this lady, we have this incredibly annoying British guy who's completely schmuck. He's up his own ass. His acting is terrible. I absolutely hate every aspect of him. I'm not sure if you're supposed to. I think maybe you are. I think he's supposed to be this charming, but also confident British guy. I thought he was a journalist, but actually I think he's there as a professional diver. When they realize there is a shark, he wants to capture the shark and do a story about it to create a lot of publicity. And there's another British guy I'm not splendid with accents. I think maybe he's supposed to be Scottish or Northern. I think he's supposed to be from the north of the UK, at least judging by his accent. He's older, more laid back. He's also a bit confident, but he's much more charming. He even shows emotions in some of the scenes. So wow, that's wild for these films. But then no, he's doing a decent job. Yes, they capture this shark after realizing that it has been attacking a few people. There's a scene where they are out practicing with these dolphins. Then they're attacked by the shark, but actually the professor lady or the ocean expert at the park is attacked by the shark and is saved by this dolphin, and they make it to safety. And that's when they decide to capture the shark, and they manage to do it. It doesn't go well. It's actually a bit foreboding. Okay, they actually don't exactly know what they're doing, so that bodes well for the future. There is a very nice park owner.
We're having dinner here. It's better be important.
And soon it's realized that this shark they captured is actually a baby. That there is a mom somewhere, and that the mom is already inside the park.
It is important, gentlemen. You better come with me.
And that's when this big shark starts attacking this ocean park. And that's when the movie gets fun. It is swimming around, destroying parts of the place. There is this place where they are having a show of these water ski performers, and of course it goes wrong and some of them slash into the surface. And honestly, I think the biggest issue is actually there's not a big kill count in this. If they'd gone all rampage on this might have been enjoyable, but most people actually make it to safety. People don't even die doing the stampedes and doing the chaos, unfortunately. And then you have different characters trapped different places, and they're trying to stop it. They're trying to lure it out by using some of the humans as live bait or some other things as live bait to get it out of the facility. And honestly, I promised that I would go into why it's so ugly to look at. And that's one scene where they have this small submarine that dives around in this park investigating. They find some of the skeletal remains of some of the dead people, and this boat just looks weird. You can maybe see the images I put up here. It just looks off. But where it gets really bad is towards the end of the film, or actually at the very end of the film, the shark decides to attack the control room of the park. And as it does that, it looks really goofy the way it approaches it. And then when it splinters the glass, it's one of the worst things I ever saw. In an entertaining way, remind you, but it's really bad. I think it's one of those infamous scenes. I've definitely seen it elsewhere when people are parodying how bad shark movies can be. This is one of the scenes they sometimes include. And as in all movies, of course, the African-American dies. I don't know why they are so rarely allowed to survive horror movies, but yeah, he dies. But before he dies, he has a grenade in his hand. And the other guys, they manage to put on the scuba gear just in time. And he's chewed up by the shark, but he doesn't really swallow him. So his grenade is still in his hand. And it's just right inside the mouth of the shark. So it's really cool. Actually, I really like this idea that they have to try and pull the pin on the grenade, but from a safe distance. So they try underwater to get these things together to pull the pin. I will say, because it's underwater and the way it's shot, it's actually really confusing. It's not a good scene. It's really good on paper because the idea is actually really entertaining. It just doesn't really work. And then we see the shark blows up with more of these really bad 3D effects. That's the end of the film. Honestly, I think this is better than the previous film. I really hated the previous film because of all the screaming, but I think it has its moments. It's not as awful as people say. If you look past how bad it looks, awful. It actually looks awful on normal TV. It has some elements. It has some entertainment value. It's not that bad, but it's also not good. But this is not where it stops. There's one more film. Jaws 4: The Revenge, 1986. Now, the idea for this movie is so ludicrous that I love it. An offspring of the shark of the first film decides to take revenge on the Brody family for killing what I presume to be its mother. Centered around the Brody family again, this time it was revealed that Father Brody died of a heart attack, and now the film is left with the mom and the two sons. The older son, Michael, now lives in Bahamas, where he has a small family, a wife and a child, a daughter, and he is studying snails there. The younger son still lives with the mom in Amity, and now also works as a coastal guard or as a policeman. And they're still trying to get over the trauma of losing the father and of what has happened to them. They do generally seem to be a quite happy family. It's Christmas, maybe that's why. Then when the younger brother is out trying to get this thing off a buoy as the last thing before, celebrating Christmas, before calling it a night, he's attacked by a shark. The shark that wants revenge. Well, he dies. He's killed off. And the mom, of course, is really saddened by this, but she also believes that the shark is out for revenge. She therefore travels to the Bahamas to the other son to grieve with them. They are escorted around the islands by Michael Caine, and we are all introduced to the final main character in this film, which is Martin Van Peebles. He is the colleague of Michael, who is studying these snails. And as the shark shows up here, the two researchers decide to keep it quiet that there's a shark here, and instead spend half of the time, actually it's the other guy, the scientist, local scientist, who is convincing Michael to quit just studying snails and he wants to go home seeing this shark, because, his brother has just been killed by a shark. He doesn't really want to be around it, but they decide to research that while also researching the snails. And I think I really have to mention this. The black guy is played by Mario Van Peebles. Maybe something about this name is familiar to you, because he's the son of Melvin Van Peebles. Melvin Van Peebles is quite a well-known, not even C-movie director. He is not the father of blaxploitation, but he kind of made the blaxploitation home movie a thing. His most famous film is Sweetback, I think it's called. There's a documentary called Sweetback's Badass Song. I think the film is just called Sweetback. The reason why this is actually really difficult for me to talk about is that not only that movie is absolutely one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It has worst in some good aspects, but honestly, it's just a vanity project blown out of proportion. But what is so mind-boggling is doing this tiny bit of research for this film. Sweetback starts out with perhaps a 10-year-old boy making love to a grown-ass woman. In the film, this is considered something good. It's pedophilia. The film opens with pedophilia. And I realized that this is Mario Van Peebles playing that kid. So Melvin Van Peebles, that absolutely lunatic, that disgusting piece of shit, had his son have sex or act as having sex with a naked woman in his movie. This is disturbing on so many levels. I know the 70s were different. I don't know when I will be talking about this movie other than now. I had to bring it up. That is disturbing. Melvin Van Peebles should be in prison. I don't know if it was illegal back then. This is so disturbing. This is so wrong. Having your own kid act sexually with someone when he's maybe 11 years old. Okay, not 11. I looked it up. He's apparently just looking much smaller for his age, but he was 13, maybe 14 when playing that role. But that's still quite disgusting. It's not as disgusting if he was an actual kid. But 14, 13 is still very young. I don't know. I really had to get that off my back because I found that very disturbing, and I had someone else to have those disturbing images in their head. I mean, if you're curious, watch that movie, but it's really, I don't know, watch Dolomite instead. Or Disco Godfather. Sweetback is awful. But yeah, he's in this film, and the rest of this film is basically them just escaping the shark and then hunting it. And I left out one very important aspect, that the wife of Brody, Father Brody, she's the same playing her character in the first and second film. She's a completely wet blanket in those movies. She's given nothing to do. Honestly, she's utterly unimportant. So it's very curious that they gave her the main role in this film. It kind of is a natural continuation. And I have so mixed feelings about her role because half of the time she's absolutely awful and I hate her. But then she actually gives decent performances in other scenes. So I think it's more the directing, it's not her acting. But so much of the film is just her crying and yelling and throwing a spasm, throwing a tantrum. Telling the sons not to do anything with water. She's a marine biologist or something. Of course she's going to do things with water. I absolutely hate her character in this film. So what's the end? She gets redeemed a bit. When she meets Michael Caine and starts a love affair with him, that starts redeeming herself. She starts becoming a more interesting personality. And then we, of course, have the ending. They ram the shark with a boat. But not only do they ram the shark with a boat, penetrating it, but they penetrate an exploding canister that they have in the shark's mouth. It's like a reverse kamikaze pilot in that they don't have the explosives on the boat, but they activate it with the boat. It's really funky, but actually it's a cool explosion, also really silly one, but it's not the worst. There are things about this movie that are not bad, but overall, it's just not a good movie. There's no reason to watch this. Actually, there are some scenes that are so awful that they keep repeating the same stupid things that has happened in the previous movies and failed, and I'm just so tired of seeing it. They're treading so many waters, they're having so many homages to the first movie that it's also frustrating because this is such a bad movie in comparison. But yeah, the absolute biggest issue is a lot of the acting. There's a lot of child acting in it. It's not the worst child acting, but it's supposed to be cute and funny and character building, but I don't know. It's a big pet peeve, small, cute girls in movies doing small, cute girl things, yelling, not understanding instructions, not obeying their parents, crying all the time. I don't like that in movies. This movie has it. I should mention, this is a Christmas movie. You can watch it for Christmas if you want a shark movie Christmas. Yeah, honestly, this is just not great. It's not good. And I think that leads us to the wrap up because this is so much longer than I had expected it would be. The original Jaws movie is marvelous. It is a masterpiece. I can't say it is absolutely perfect, but I will say it's near perfect. I will give it my utmost recommendation. For the rest of the three movies, I would say going into this, I had high expectations. I had seen all three movies before, but I think that Jaws 4, I saw a second screen some 5-6 years ago. The third one and the second one I saw as a kid after watching the first film. I remember liking them back then. So my expectations were that, this will not be just another bunch of terrible sequels. They might be somewhat entertaining. And although the production quality, the overall quality of these movies are better than, let's say, Lake Placid or the Anaconda sequels, excluding the second one, they're not good. They're really not good. But they're also not the worst. The second film, I already said I hate it because of all the screaming and yelling and how stupid it is. But the first half of it is okay. It's an okay sequel. And that's why the first half of it means that I can't yell at it from the top of my lungs, but I also can't recommend it at all. The third film, it's really stupid, but I think, actually, this is such a weird movie to see because it is made in this 3D way that is so outdated that actually I think I can recommend it. Give it a low-key recommendation just to see how weird this is. It's not a good film. I was really bored. It was so difficult for me to keep focused on it. I lost my attention span, simply couldn't survive how boring this was. But I can give it a recommendation just for curiosity's sake, not because it's actually good. The fourth film, as much as I'd like to recommend a film with Michael Caine in it, with a revengeful shark, I can't. It's just not good. Not good enough, at least. And that leaves it here. This concludes my animal horror themed little adventure. I'll dive into some other territory. I have a little special thing coming up that I'm looking forward to. I don't know if other people will enjoy it, but I certainly will. And if you want to see other things that animal horror movies, you can subscribe. If you want something that only delves into animal monster horror territory, this is not the channel for you. I am more diverse than that. Anyway, subscribe if you want to. Leave a comment saying I'm wrong about these movies and that they're actually misunderstood masterpieces, or maybe don't. No, I do appreciate hearing other opinions because honestly, I am making mistakes. I am overlooking things. So having them pointed out, if you do that, I won't be mad. I'll actually appreciate it. At least if you do it respectfully. But that's it for me. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.